Conor McGregor and Ilia Topuria had another back and forth. Conor responded to Ilia mocking Max Holloway for losing to Conor. Conor reposted this. It says Ilia Topuria mocks Max Holloway for losing to Conor McGregor and says it's embarrassing. Conor wrote it's not a bad shout, but Holloway came back and earned it majorly. Two-time featherweight champion, attempted double champ, his current BMF champ. Nah, he the real deal. Always was, always is. Holloway is an always was, always is. 1000%. He became way better after losing to me. He actually became an all-time great after losing to me. This is a stellar fight, folks. He took moves as well with him. He became ambidextrous after fighting me. He can fight in both stances now as good as each other. He will be very hard to catch for the little man. Don't walk into a crushing blow, bro. He's strong too, and very experienced. 100%. Big fight feel for me here, folks. Oh yeah, let's go. Ilia responded saying 100% Max has improved after fighting you. He must have realized that if he wanted to make a living from this, he couldn't be so bad as to lose to somebody like you. Nowadays he beats you easily. Dustin knocked you out in the rematches, Nate beat you 2 times, Khabib humiliated you, and Floyd gave you a masterclass in boxing at 50 years old. Take a seat, kid. You're a fake fighter. Khamzat Chimaev wrestles with 2024 Olympic gold medalist Razambek Zhamalov. Belal Muhammad and Ariel Helwani had a heated back and forth. It started with Belal saying this on the Remember the Show podcast.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Ariel Helwani is one of the biggest haters in the world, right? He's not. He knows what he's doing when he tries to bring these questions to fighters and he tries to get you to hate on him. And he's been wanting to get people to make excuses for why Leon lost his fight. Even Leon's missing, right? He hasn't gone on the show, but he's looking for that. So you're gonna ask the guy that won by knockout on that card, like a moron, hey, you know, the time change was a difference for him. So that would mean it was a time change was a difference for Razor Blades too. Maybe that affected Razor Blades. Aspinall was from there. Aspinall won by knockout, you moron. Paddy Pimblett won by knockout, you moron. And, you know, what's his face? Leon Edwards, he hired the sleeping coach from NASCAR. But Ariel is just a pure hater. He's been hating on me this is my career. He's another one of the guys that for sure had tears in his eyes when he saw me carry that belt. He had tears in his eyes when he saw Leon Edwards lose that fight. I didn't have to go through get the belt by coming on his stupid podcast and, you know, bowing down to him and, you know, hoping that he would say my name for a title shot. I went the hard way. I went the long way. I got it myself. I didn't need nobody's hand. I didn't need I didn't put your handouts for nothing. I got it myself. So for him to keep hating like that, that just shows the type of person he is. He's a clown. So respect to Aspinall. Aspinall's the man. And he said it the way it was.
Bingo.
I dominated him. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. It wasn't just, I went in there. I went into his home country. I dominated him. We both fought at the same time. We both fought at the same 5 a.m. time zone. And it was hard for me. It was hard for everybody on the card. Winners are going to win. Losers are going to lose. Cry.
Ariel fired back on X saying, I only hear one dude throwing a lot of insults and hating. I've never done that, even though Belal always claims otherwise. Same old, same old. The interview in question, yesterday's with Aspinall, was my first with guests since a week before the Manchester card. So the notion that I've been asking everyone to hate on Belal Muhammad is factually incorrect. I literally haven't talked to anyone for 3 months. I've also not asked to speak to Leon since the fight. I've only had 2 shows. As predicted, I said one critical thing. I think Leon was off that night due to the time difference. Not every human is the same, while also giving Belal props before and after the fight. And again, it's all this insulting. I said repeatedly, he was getting screwed by not getting the title shot earlier. Same old story. In short, it's good to be back. Peace and love. Ariel then reposted this clip.
For Belal, who's looked incredible, I think, unbeaten in his last 10, 11 in a row. You ever get to spar with him, or is he too, when you were preparing for one?
Ariel wrote example 1 of 1,000 of me giving Belal praise over the last few months. But of course he throws a temper tantrum when I say one somewhat critical thing, which was more about Leon than him, but alas, figured things would change when he won the belt. Guess not. Ariel ended it off with this. He wrote, you know what I did when he beat Leon that morning in July? I finished up the croissant I was eating in Paris and went over to cover the mother effing Olympics for CBC. Tears in my eyes, my tuchus. Contrary to his long-standing beliefs, guy's an NPC in my life. Ilia Topuria and Alexander Vokanovski had a friendly exchange on social media. On Volk's cooking Instagram at Cooking with Volk, he posted a video of him making a burger. Ilia left a comment saying, when will you invite me? Volk replied maybe a paella after our next fight, which is a Spanish dish. Ilia said done, I'll bring the wine. Daniel Cormier shares his concerns in regards to Nick Diaz returning and fighting Vicente Luque. Diaz versus Luque goes down at UFC 310. On Good Guy, Bad Guy, DC said the thing about Nick Diaz for me, I want the guy from the pictures. I'ma just say it. I don't want to see Nick Diaz that is just ripped. When he fought Robbie Lawler, I was so excited because I was like, man, he's been back on the triathlons and he looks even better than he did in his prime. Then when he got to the octagon, he looked nothing like that in person. Like a guy that was pushing 40, that hadn't fought in many, many years, and I didn't know if he still had that fight in him. Vicente Luque is thought to be on the decline. I kind of judged him based on how badly Joaquin Buckley beat him. But now watching Joaquin Buckley do what he did to the kid that was 18-1 in St. Louis, what he did to Stephen Thompson, now I look back at Vicente Luque and wonder if I was too quick to judgment. Diaz struggled with Robbie Lawler, and Robbie Lawler was only one fight away from retirement. Vicente Luque is not going anywhere. It's a tough fight. I think for Nick, though, he has to be really locked in if he wants to go out there and not embarrass himself. Khalil Rountree reveals what led him to fatigue against Alex Pereira. On the Believe You Me podcast, Khalil explains how Alex started to make adjustments as the rounds went on, and absorbing those strikes is what actually led him to start slowing down.
But one thing that I like to make clear is that people don't really realize how it takes a lot of energy when you start absorbing punches, and it like, you know, the body responds how it responds. And I think that was it for me. As soon as he kept the pace, so like every round he kept making adjustments. You know, he didn't decline, he didn't, you know, come out slower. He actually ended up coming out faster and a little bit, you know, more pressure every round. So I think that in the third round, having, you know, these things, having made these adjustments, they started to wear on me. And especially the fourth round, I mean, after he started establishing that jab and mixing up the different strikes, I really started to feel it, and that's what slowed me down. Yeah, and I couldn't really like engage and continue to cover that distance that I was covering in rounds 1 and 2. For instance, he started to establish his jab after he realized that I was like catching kicks and stuff, and so he really got his range figured out. And I mean, it's Alex Pereira, like, you know, the guy punches hard, everybody knows this. Not only the left hook, but, you know, the jab, man. Like when he started jabbing me, boom, and then my brain's just like, whoa. And so like that takes energy, you know, it does. It takes, you know, like just brain energy, everything. So that's what kind of started to slow me down.
After the tragic loss of his 15-month-old son Kobe earlier this year, Francis Ngannou says rather than use that as an excuse to give up, he will use it as a purpose to continue. Francis fights Renan Fajeda this weekend at PFL Battle of the Giants. Speaking to MMAfighting.com, Francis said, my purpose is to make this fight meaningful. This fight was most likely not to happen. I was most likely not to fight this year or never, but I want to make a purpose of things that happen. Give it a purpose. Instead of using it as an excuse of giving up, maybe use it as a purpose to continue fighting. Give it more sense. Give it more reason. Make things more meaningful, more impactful. I'm saying that about the loss of my son. After that, I really considered dropping everything. And one of the only reasons why I didn't do that was because thinking about it, he would have been like he was the one taking me out, making me quit, which is not a responsibility that I think of his to carry. That is my responsibility. The only thing I can do is make a purpose of his existence, or of this loss. You know, make it make some sense, trying to write his name in a better way for him to be remembered. Sean O'Malley expressed interest in fighting Jose Aldo. Speaking to Ariel Helwani, Sean said 100%. That would be f***ing crazy. Jose Aldo is a legend. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I like having options. I don't know if the Merab fight is going to happen, but I'm pushing for it, just putting that out in the universe, hoping that happens. But you know, I'm here for big fights and I want people to be entertained. I want people to have that feeling of a big fight around the corner. That's the type of fights I want to put on and give to the people. So yeah, that's a possibility. Ian Garry claims that he has accepted a fight with Colby Covington. However, Colby is avoiding him.
What's up, everyone? So I'm coming on to let everybody know, keep everybody in the loop and keep everyone updated because it matters. A month ago, I was offered a fight with Colby Covington. It took me all of 20 seconds to respond to the email saying, yes, I'm in. A month later, we've still got no response from Colby. He's avoiding me like the plague, and there's one reason, and one reason only this fight isn't happening, and his name's Colby Covington.
Yesterday, Donald Cerrone announced that he wants to return to the UFC for 2 more fights. Dana White reacted to this, and he's really not a fan of the idea.
I want to go back and get 2 more fights. When I retired, I told you I was getting my hair done and getting on steroids. For number 50, been sitting on my mind for a while. So I've been working with Transcend the last 2 years, taking TRT, a bunch of peptides. Now we got a protocol for all you people like, oh, what if you get on it, you can't ever come off? Well, I now have to come off and piss clean. Fight in a few months, so watch this.
Cowboy Cerrone said he's coming out of retirement.
I hate it.
He wants 2 more fights.
I hate it.
Is that
Love him, hate that. He retired. It's just what for what? What's left to prove? You know, if you want to make money, let's figure something else out. And I hate it.
And I wanted to ask about, you know,
when guys retire, they retire for a reason. They don't just retire because they retire because they know it's over. You know it is. So I think that not just this sport, but any professional sport is hard to walk away from. You know, not just the money. That's obviously a very hard part of it. But, you know, the feeling of walking out of that tunnel, the feeling of getting in the cage and, you know, the place is packed and everybody. I mean, look at every time we're at a show, when you show Cowboy Cerrone on the screen, the place goes nuts. I mean, he's beloved. He's beloved because the guy goes to war, and he's been in wars for years, and it's time to not go to war anymore, man. It's just there's nothing left to prove for him.
It's safe to say he won't be fighting in the UFC.
I'd rather work something else out with him and figure out another way. If it's about money, then he can do something else, because he ain't gonna fight for the rest of his life, and he's always gonna need to make money. So let's figure that out now instead of 3 years from now.
Stephen Thompson reacts to fans telling him to fight Donald Cerrone. Wonderboy reposted this. He wrote, "I'll be ready when he is. Would love to share the cage with a legend. A couple of vets putting on a show." And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. For daily MMA news and content, subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post video. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one's from Tom EVP. Does all those old fighters that are retired but not capable of moving on make us all understand what a rare feat it was to see GSP move on like a real pro? The second one says Brendan Schaub has lost his mind. Somebody give my buddy 10 million. Why doesn't Brendan give him a room to sleep in and help a friend out? Idiot. And the final one says Conor is on the phone right now with Dana over a possible Cerrone rematch. Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured in the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. And if you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen right now to get caught up.